afternoon, everybody. I'm Stuart Blair. I head up the business development function at ACI Worldwide for the Northern European markets. I want to talk to you today about payment orchestration and what it means to us as payment team leaders, and really what it means about creating value out of payment orchestration. So as payment leaders ourselves, we've seen the market change immensely over the last 10 years. And really, our payment teams are evolving from operational cost centers to becoming payment or innovative profit generators in their own right. That means that we're presented, as you can see here on the board behind me, with a number of different issues that we have to track every day. Some of those we find drive our cost of business, and some of which are set as challenges that our marketing teams and sales teams want us to get to market early with. So when we're setting our payment strategy, we need to ask ourselves what opportunities we have. Do those opportunities sit within our marketplace, our sales channels? Do they sit in other geographies? Where do we play in the market? What are our competitors doing and what are they offering? Who is it that we sell to? Who are our customers today? And where do we want to be in 3 years' time? So with that change and that evolution into being a profit generator, we can no longer be seen as the policeman of the rules of payments and just abiding by compliance. Obviously, that's part of what we do, but we have to look at how we can drive value out of it. So less of considering payments as a cost of doing business or transactional cost, and more about where we can find value and drive that to the bottom line. So we should be thinking more about where we can grow our payment reach, how we can increase conversion, and that's the point I really want to touch on today, and how do we control our cost of doing business. So put it simply then, we want to sell more, we want to lose less, and we want to maximize our margin by being in control. So the question I'd like to put to you to think about is, what would a 1% payment conversion uplift mean for your business? So thinking back the last few years, we've been reactive. COVID has made us be so. We've been proactive in changing and aligning our businesses to changes in the marketplace. We've seen PSD2, we've seen the regulation of new players such as open banking, payment facilitators. We've also seen changes to the card acquiring world with changes in card scheme fees and interchange. We've also known the cost that that has on our company by IT development. It also happened in the backdrop of COVID. And if we think of the displacement of cash, we've seen people move more to online payments. It's interesting being back in Germany and noticing that card payments are no longer accepted in some places, and we're back to cash, but that's a different kettle of fish. We're seeing more and more people have taken on the smartphone. Now, that's something we've been talking about at MPE for a number of years, and it's borne out. 82% of transactions, or 82% of smartphone owners have used their phone to make payments. That in itself asks for more simplicity and better user experience, as people only expect to use a one-click payment. You don't want to be stood on the street entering your card details anymore. The younger generations are looking at alternatives from credit cards. If they want a credit product, then they're buying now and they're paying later for their goods. So we've got to make sure that our proposition to the marketplace offers all of these different opportunities to the end consumer. What we're also seeing, unfortunately, is the rise in fraud. Now, those of you that have put in place SCA, etc., you're probably seeing the reduction with 3D Secure. But where is that fraud going to? Is it going to the card issuer? Are you seeing more declines? We don't know. Could be. More directly, we're seeing that fraud being displaced from the point of payment and going to account takeover. or abuse for returns. If you're in the retail, you're aware of all of that. The other piece is the cost of implementing new payment methods and getting them to market. So let's have a look at how orchestration manages all of this. The key to it all is connectivity. How do I connect to my end customers? And how do I connect them to the whole wealth and breadth of different payment types that are coming out in the marketplace? There are new technology providers. There are new ways to pay. How do I get those into my checkout, and how do I get to market before my competitor? Well, it's all about the conversion, improving those conversion rates through that connectivity, the growth to hit new markets, and the cost management within my business. And the volume of endpoints is really going to be that. Now, that could be the amount of different payment providers, amount of different acquirers, the amount of different ways I can set up my checkout page to give the best customer experience. And the important point of that then is to have an orchestration platform with all of that connectivity built in, and to be able to pull that at any point in time to your particular strategy to hit your goals. Let's have a look at that. Now, a few years ago, this would be much more simplistic. You'd probably find a card issuer, a card acquirer, and maybe a terminal provider in this chart. But today that's changed quite a bit. And we sit in the middle here thinking about how we can drive those various parts of the ecosystem. So if you think of an orchestra, you're the conductor in that payments role. You're the person who can bring in instruments, take out instruments, to make the best arrangement of your piece. If we look at conversion, that sits right in the middle at the point of checkout. There are two activities going on here. One is screening and one is routing. And screening is looking at the quality of that transaction that's going through. So what can I do? Is it a good actor? Is it a bad actor? How do I fraud score it? What data am I getting to get the best output of that transaction? Can I look at SCA exemptions? Really important in the 3DS world. Some of those will be good actors. So how can I give them as frictionless a journey through my, my sales process as possible? If it qualifies, do I step it up? How can I profile customer data to know that that person is doing something he usually does? And how can I package up that data to use it to drive my marketing focus? And the output of this screening is then where to route it, or route it, as our American colleagues would say. And the core to this function is having a multi-acquirer base. And by acquirer, I mean payment, alternative payment types, as well as the traditional acquirers. What do I need to do per sales channel or per market? What connectors do I need to make sure that I'm representing the right choice to them? If I have two card acquirers, how do I want to play one off against the other? You're in control here. Do you have better rates with one acquirer than another? Do you have credit risk requirements that mean you have to route them one way or another? Or is your TRA threshold lower on acquirer one to the other? You can choose where you send that transaction to get the best output. If a card declines the first time round, can you retry it? By retrying it under a different MCC code or sending it to a different acquirer, invisibly to the consumer, will you get that better output and that conversion? The growth also happens in what you offer at the point of checkout. So BNPL, making an application at the point of checkout, and then that application applying to a range of different providers so that the customer doesn't fail from one and have to re-enter all that details again. Open banking, the ability to make account payments, the payouts if you're working in a marketplace environment, And what's really simple and plays towards this simplicity element is tokenization, the saving of the information, the ability to have one-click payments that people want on a smartphone, and future-proofing that as well for network payments, where you will have more interoperability between schemes. And all of that then drives cost reduction as well. By having a platform, a payment orchestration platform will mean that you're optimizing the cost of doing business. You're going to be quicker to market because you're not developing. If you have one API that connects you to a wide range of connectors, you're configuring, you're switching things on, switching things off to access the market or making your customers access the market. Simplified settlement and reporting from your face-to-face and your online business is also going to give you a lot more control and be able for you to manage KPIs with your stakeholders. So we've looked at it from a consumer perspective, and we've looked at it from, the ecosystem itself. But behind me is playing out a really bad example of a customer journey, and I think you all know, this story. But it's one that we've been driven down the route of 3D secure, rigid rules, which perhaps will scare that customer and cause drop-off. In MPE over the last few years, we've talked about what would that drop-off be. And since 3D Secure has gone live, we've seen different acceptance in different markets. So it really means that the more control that we can influence on the customer journey is going to drive a better conversion or a better output. If we don't offer card alternatives, we're going to lose people in different marketplaces and different demographics. But also, if our fraud rules are too simplistic, if we just have a number of basic templated rules, that's going to give us false positives, and we're going to be turning away good business. So the more focus and the more filtering we can do and screening at that end, the better the output, the more likely we are to have a converted sale. I have to show a good example as well, really, and this is one. And this is where customers are seeing the merchant is using an orchestration that allows him to give better choice. It means he's got a one-click and using those tokens within the system, which gives a better screening output, so more likely that that will turn into a converted sale. There's also an invisible payment flow behind the scenes. It means the card could be, or the transaction could be represented a number of times. So if I'm a retailer and it gets declined by one of the issuers, but I represent it under a different MCC code and it goes through, we can do that seamlessly behind the scenes and we get a converted sale without a bad customer experience happening. So all of this control and all of this pulling and pushing that we do as the payments team gives us more control in the process. So finally, we've considered the importance of connecting and capturing both our new customers, and to new technology providers. So let's have a look at the output that conversion can have, that we can plan into those payment strategies. We've seen conversion uplifts from screening and routing, and this is that area that we referred to before, payment conversion uplift. So within screening, looking at fraud screening, looking at putting SCAs in place, by putting in an SCA exemption engine can actually have an impact of about 30% uplift in what would be normally declined, and gives you the chance to take the friction out of your payment cycle. Adding a fraud engine to the platform drives further conversion. Your false positives are then converted to sales. And we've seen that in cases with customers increase by 50% of conversion rate. You can also orchestrate within the fraud realms as well. Do you need further data on customers? Can you then layer different data service providers to give you better knowledge about who your customer is? If we look then at routing, if you have a multi-acquirer approach and you're in control of sending the data to whomever, there are uplifts of about 15% that we've observed with our customers using this orchestration. If you then leverage local acquiring, especially those with local debit cards, against cross-border acquirers, that can actually shift up and be closer to about 42% because of the acceptance rates locally to market. And smart retry that I mentioned, where you represent that card, can improve the conversion rate by 12%. So they're impressive stats. And really, the way that we get to those is looking at those KPIs through orchestration. If you add this to the further sales that you get from adding further alternative payment opportunities to your client, to your customer base, you're going to reach more people at the checkout as well. So you can sell more and reach more people. If we reduce chargebacks with a fraud engine, you can use that information into your fraud screens to reduce the amount of chargebacks that you get through. You're then configuring. You're no longer developing. You're no longer fighting for a place in that IT queue. So you're coming quicker to market, which is what your marketing and digital teams will want. And ultimately, you're going to get great customer experience. So all these points to the fact that payment orchestration will drive your payment strategy as a payment leader. You'll get flexibility and growth. You'll future-proof your technology. You'll optimize your approval rates. And you'll leverage your customer data intelligence. And you'll be able to prove that back to your stakeholders. So all this will underscore the evolution of the payment teams into being an innovative profit generator. As I said, we'll be able to sell more, lose less, and maximize our margin. So with that in mind, I go back to the initial question. What would that 1% uplift in payment conversion mean to you and mean to your company? Have a think about it. Thank you very much for your time.